I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. You can get us on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe and comment and like and whatever you like to do. We have so many wonderful videos for you and so many wonderful interviews, just like this next one. So that's Dream Chasers Radio at Yahoo, uh, Instagram. Where else we got? Twitter. We got a lot of different places. And a lot of people like me to tell you, you got iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Deezer, Vimeo, Roku, Amazon Fire, Comcast TV in Hawaii. Hi, Hawaii. Aloha. We also have Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia, and California. Hello, everybody. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. So I'm going to tell you, today we have a wonderful guest, someone who is multi-talented. I mean, I went through his whole thing and I'm like, you are so many things. I don't know what to pick, but he's going to choose. I want to welcome to the show, Chaim. Welcome to the show, Chaim. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. Hi, Chaim. How are you?
I'm here now.
Yes, you are. Hey,
yes,
hi.
Good. Thank you for having me. Sorry for that. We're having some troubles with the connectivity every now and then.
That's okay. We're in two different countries. So, Chaim, welcome to the show. Tell everybody where you are right now.
I'm reaching you guys from the Netherlands, right across the Atlantic. So
wow.
That's probably why the latency issues can happen every now and then.
Yep, that's okay. It's fine. We're going to get this done because, I mean, you're such an interesting person. Tell me all about yourself. You do music. You're an author. Come on. I mean, talk to me.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's a lot to tell, of course, but there's about everyone. So I'm sure everyone is interesting in their own right. I mean, I do keep myself very busy. So next to having a nice family that I spend lots of time with and having a day job, I also like to write. I'm actually working on my first officially published novel right now. Right now via Black Harbor Press, which you can see in the link. Right. Can you still see me?
Yep, I got you. And you were, which we could see on the link. So it's the Black Harbor Press.
Right. Was it the last one that you heard that I thought I'm currently working on my first officially published novel? So other than that, I'm also dabbling in map making. So fantasy map making, not the official ones, but like the maps in Lord of the Rings. But then for many different fantasy worlds. So I like to do that. I've loved to draw since I was a child and never really stopped doing it. So those things I mainly spend my time on. And then usually you find out there are too few hours in a day, and the rest the next one again.
I hear you. I hear you. So, okay. So you are now working on your own novel. I mean, what is that like? This is your first, am I correct? You said this was your
Yes.
first novel. So
First
what
novel.
has that been like for you? And did you know it was going to be a novel when you kind of like started?
Well, I didn't quite know yet. I mean, I've always ideas in my mind to write stories about, and I mean, I have self-published one short story already, but I mean, if it sold 10 copies online, I'm happy with it. So you can say that was just a trial. I've written a lot of stories in the past, but never did anything with it. And now I got a good idea and a publisher who somehow felt confident enough to support me, even though the book wasn't completely finished yet. So that's very fortunate. I mean, you don't hear that too often.
No, you don't. No. Wow. So tell me about this. Okay, so wait, before we get into that, I mean, you know, you have such a wonderful talent and you've managed to develop a lot of skills. What was that like for you? And did you use any of this knowledge in your current novel coming up?
Well, the map making, so drawing, making the natural world around you appear on a piece of paper. That's a big role in the novel that I'm currently writing. So I'm trying to combine two of my main interests in that one story. Because the novel I'm writing, a little bit of a, I'm not going to spoil anything for future possible readers, but the world that the novel is set in is a character in itself. So it's a world that's constantly changing, and it really isn't that friendly when it changes. So it's about whole mountain ranges suddenly changing into fields and the other way around. And it maybe sounds very vague in this, but it's of course fantasy. But the way it comes across is hopefully kind of realistic. But because the world changes, this also means that map makers suddenly have a very important role in there. I mean, in a world like our own, maps are already important to go from A to B. Well, if your world changes as well, then you can imagine how important those will be.
Right.
That's
Definitely.
sort of the temple of my interest in it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You know, I am so excited for you. So now that we know that you are multi-talented, that is indisputable. Okay.
Thank
Indisputable.
you.
It's perfect. And that you live in a different country than the United States, it doesn't mean anything because anybody from any country can go after their dreams and their hopes if they have access to it. So your current novel, talk about that for me. Tell me about what's going on there.
All right. So you've probably heard about those novels with a hero being the chosen one, going on a quest to solve all the world's problems. Well, my novel is not that. I mean, it has this in it, but then again, the main character is the little brother of the chosen one. So you can imagine their relationship.
Yeah.
It's the novel plays in this world that constantly changes, so this is a big part of the culture. The starting point is you get to learn a bit about the culture of the main guy. I mean, besides the story, which I will continue about, this is one of the cool points about writing fantasy, and also one of the difficult points is that you don't have the real world to use. I mean, all references you're going to make, you have to come up with, right? I mean, this world doesn't have a fantasy everybody doesn't have a history everybody knows, doesn't have a rich culture, doesn't have anything. You have to invent everything. So writing in the real world makes it easier to reference stuff, to make it complex. So in fantasy, you have to do this all on your own. So what I did was, given the fact that this world is a world that constantly changes, I made this main culture, nomadic culture, semi-sedentary, I called it, because they all live in wagons. But then they try to stay on one location as long as they can until the world starts changing, and then they run for it.
Oh, wow.
So they try to keep their tribe safe by moving around. And well, the story begins first. You get to know the main character and his daily life. So that's the first little bit. You get to know a little bit of what he's about.
James,
And
right?
then James, yes,
Yeah.
James Reed. He is the brother of the chosen one, and his father is an important councilman. So he's been looked at completely all the time in his life, and yeah, he feels like he's never as good as the people above him, right? His father is important, his brother is important, so he feels like trapped in their shadow. So a part of his story is breaking out of that and seeing his true value. So it's like a coming of age kind of thing. I mean, he will, as a character, really develop, really come into his own. But of course, it doesn't happen all of a sudden. This is triggered by something. So what happens is this tribe we grew up in, or you will meet in the beginning of the story.
Right.
It isn't the only tribe in the world, obviously, and not all the peoples in the world are very friendly to each other. So in that sense, it's unfortunately very realistic. So one tribe, the Seekers, they, as they call it, of course, I mean, they have a different language, so you wouldn't know, but they raid their town, they raid their culture, and this is going horribly wrong, and this is what triggers our protagonist James to step up and really come into his own. I mean, lots of people from his tribe are kidnapped, they're taken away, and his brother valiantly charges after the invaders with his entire army and is never heard from again. So this is when James decides, all right, it's time to do something. I'm going to go and find the chosen one to find and save my people. And that's what the rest is going to be about. And
that is amazing. I mean, okay, so this is a novel, 300, 400 pages.
It's 100,000 plus ish words, so it's around 300 pages.
Wow. But exciting pages, like excitement.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
it's never a dull moment in it. I mean, I'm not writing an action novel over here, so it's not come from fight to fight. It's stuff happens, and it's emotional stuff. It's sometimes philosophical stuff. It's stuff about coming to age, realization. It's about a bit of psychology even, but not in a learning book kind of way. It's like
I got you.
It's happening as the story progresses. I mean, James gets to know himself a bit more. He gets to know the world, and he gets to know other tribes, which is important.
Yeah.
He comes from his very, very safe environment in his little culture, and now he learns the world is a lot bigger than he ever imagined.
Wow.
And yeah, of course, I don't want to spoil too much, but
of course not. Of course not, because they have to buy the book, or they have to at least go and see the preference of the book. But I want to ask you a question. How did you come up with this idea for the book? I mean, literally, is this something that I know you've always been interested in stuff like this? I got it. But coming up with the subject matter, the names of the book, where they're going to go, what world they're going to live in. How did you do that? How did you know to do that? Is that something you've always been able to do?
Well, it's always part of what you read yourself, what you who you talk to, what you see on television, what you talk about with friends, and all of that combined in the back of your mind. Suddenly, some idea pops up, and that might be cool to work with. And then some ideas die again, and maybe they come back later. Other ideas stick in your mind, and they are sort of reluctant to leave. So you have to do something with it. And,
right.
That something turned out to be writing a novel about it.
Wow.
I mean, never starved for ideas, but knowing where to start or just going with it, that's going to be helpful. And of course, being in touch with Black Harbor Press really helped push me in the direction of writing a novel about it, because my now publisher, he was a very good sparring partner in coming up with this idea, or giving it a bit of a shape to work with.
Right.
So that's, I mean, it sounds like I'm doing everything on my own, but of course I'm not. There's always people in there to help you out, to spar with you, to push you in a direction that you can either go with or resist. I mean, it's always going to be supporting people in your life. So that's really helpful.
Very helpful. Very helpful. I don't think anyone can do anything alone. No. That's my whole thing. We all have to team up, and we can be better for it. Wow. So that is amazing. I mean, being that it is your first, I mean, is this your first book or just your first novel?
Well, I wrote a short story, but I mean, that's available via Amazon. I put it in my link tree as well, but that's just, compared to a novel, this is really, just one little part of it. I mean, you read through it in 2 to 3 hours, and then it's over. People who actually read it liked it and say, I want to read more. Yeah, that's I think a compliment.
Yeah,
Other
it's
people, of
great.
course, they don't like that it's too brief, and they say it stops when it starts getting fun. But that was the first time I tried publishing anything, so that's I wanted to just do something with it. I mean, I've got 100 plus short stories laying around that I'm not doing anything with, and maybe in the future I will. But for now, this idea for the novel was something I had to work on.
Right.
And so it's not the first thing I publish, but it's going to be the first thing that I publish via a publisher. So
wow, and big first novel.
Oh yes, absolutely.
What's the difference? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chaim.
No, of course. The difference between writing a short story and writing a novel.
Yeah. What's the difference?
I mean, a short story starts right in the action. It starts in an interesting scene, and then usually one or two things happen, and the chaos that you discover in the first scene revolves, and that's done. It's one little story arc. You really focus on it, and it's high tension, high action, and it stops. It either is completely resolved, or it stops with a cliffhanger or something. Short story is short; it's in the name, right? That's its unique selling point. It's either you love it or you hate it. You don't have the room in a short story to go with very complex backstories or character development. I mean, you have to go into the action. You have to go right there, and you have to keep it interesting during the whatever 1,000 words you're writing, 10,000 words or something. That's it. A novel is 10 times the length at least, so you cannot keep that full tension all the time. You have room to build something. You can go deeper. You can make the characters more interesting. You have a lot more room to explore stuff. But this is also a trapdoor, because if you're not careful, you make it boring. So making something, writing an entire world might be interesting for me, but not for anybody else, really, probably. Unless they're really invested in it somehow.
Right.
I mean, it has to have both depth and character development, world development, but also still be a very interesting story to read. I mean, you still have to be engaged to keep turning the page, and that's the big challenge for writing a novel, because it's longer. You cannot suffice with one story arc, so you have to blend multiple together. Wow. So how do you do this? And that's the challenge there.
I like what you just said. You said it's not just one story. You have to get a bunch of different stories and blend them together. That is an interesting analysis. I mean, is that something that you learned during this process of writing a novel in comparison to the short story?
Well, yeah, you can say that. You can say that. I mean, I have attempted to write some novels before. I mean, there is something also in the States called the National Novel Writing Month.
Okay.
Usually it's in November. You try to write a novel in a month, right?
Oh my gosh.
That's that challenge. I participated in that challenge 3 times.
Wow.
But I mean, sometimes you get stuck because you don't know how to move from one story to another, or to make it feel like one bigger story. At the progression stage of why the story has to continue, you sort of don't know where to go from there. So I mean, you can keep writing, but that's not gonna do anything. That's the problem. So that's something. The first time I actually got it right is, I think, hopefully. I mean, if I get it right, you guys get to judge. But I feel I got it right in this novel. And the thing that made me be able to do this is to plan ahead a little bit. I wrote a plot line before actually starting to write the novel. I mean, I had written some chapters, some paragraphs to get a feel for the character and for the world, to see if it worked. But then I stopped writing and first plotted out the story. And from the very first word to the last one, with what the story should be about, how to build the tension, what character arcs there should be. So I plotted this out, and I keep that as a sort of guiding line while writing. And of course, your plan will always change. I mean, you come up with new ideas you didn't think of before while you're writing. I mean, I don't know where those ideas come from. That's probably your muse talking to you, but it develops a bit. But if you keep the plan you had in mind as a red thread, then at least you will set as the structure of the story goes. And and then it has a purpose. You know where you're going, and then it's just inventing the details as you go along.
That is so cool, because there are certain people out there like me, no names. Anyway, so there are certain people out there like me who have started short stories, but putting the stories together to make them one long novel. I mean, you can have as many characters as you want. And it can really get out of hand. What kind of suggestions do you give to those people who really want to do this, who are stuck in short stories and like you said, a novel in a month, right? I mean, there's no way. Not, at least not for me. I would get stuck in like first day one. I'm just not gonna lie.
Just forgetting about social life for a month, and then just
right.
be up in a room and writing every day, every 3 minutes you have.
I would be a lighter version of myself. Just put it that way. No sun. But what is your suggestion?
If you want to slap short stories amongst back to back on each other to get a novel published, then you should probably write an anthology and just publish a bundle of short stories. Then, I mean, if you're writing a story or really a novel, and your plan is to write a novel, and you have several story ideas, but you don't quite know how to bring this together. Of course, every writer is different, right? I mean, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for someone else, but in my mind, it's always good to first think a lot about it. Think and make a mind map, brainstorm about how it could work together. What kind of settings would work? What kind of events could happen in the story that could drive your character forward, that could move, that could blend these stories together? And do you really need a secondary character there? Can you not just make the main character do it? And if so, how would it work? I mean, it's just thinking a lot. And then if you have something that works, talk to people who you trust. Ask them, right, this is my idea. What do you think about it? And don't be friendly with me. Just give your honest opinion.
Yeah.
And then you can do with that feedback what you want. I mean, in the end, you're writing it, not they. But still, any input that you can gather that will really give you some wealth of knowledge about how other people might perceive it. So my suggestion would be, think about it a lot. Keep an open mind. Don't limit yourself to one scenario, but think of different kind of options, and then go with your gut feeling of what feels right.
Wow.
And it's your story, right? So what feels right for you is what you should read, what you should write about.
Definitely. Chaim, thank you.
Anytime.
My gosh. I mean, you're
so... at the end already.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we could talk about this for a long time because you're so interesting. I mean, it's like you have so many different facets. And the idea of taking like those little short stories, maybe with the same character, because sometimes people come up with like a different, I would say, episode of the character. Maybe they could just make that one big novel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what Arthur Conan Doyle did with Sherlock, right? Making little stories with the same character, different problems to solve, different murders to solve. I mean, all the detectives are like that, really. Serialized cop series on television are like that as well. They give the same set of characters encountering different problems all the time.
They do. You're right. Wow. Well, Chaim, thank you so much. I mean, everybody can get you on blackharborpress.com/authors/Chaim, CHAIM dash. And then how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Holtjer in Dutch. I would not know how to pronounce it in English, probably.
I know, it's fine. I don't want to torture it because it looks like it's Holtjer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's HOLT, like Holt, and then JER. So you guys, there you go. But you can always look at it in the description box or on the video below us, and you'll see the link. And just go ahead and type that into your browser. Go and check this out. I mean, we are here to support one another, and he's got some great ideas. So if you've missed any of this interview, you need to go back because you're going to learn how to write your first novel. I'm not going to lie, because, I mean, you've given me so many wonderful ideas. Chaim, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be here.
It was a pleasure to have you on. Do you have any shout outs you want to give? Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, of course, I want to thank my publisher for arranging this. I mean, he encountered you, so I'm happy for that. Also for trusting in me to write the novel. So that's a big thank you to him. Of course, I want to also thank my wife, as everybody does. So she supports me in everything, and I'm really, really helpful for her. She bears with me sitting, writing the stories, making the maps every evening, instead of just spending time with her. I mean, I also do that, of course, but I want to thank her for bearing with me to have these hobbies or these passions going on as well. So that's
it's always
that's
good.
it.
It's always good to have your wife in the whole mix there.
Mhm.
It goes in the order of, if you're with your mom, you better, hi mom. If you're with your wife, I love you, babe. You see, you have to do it. Well, Chaim, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
I liked it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to Dream Chasers Radio. And don't forget to go and support Chaim and his new novel. And what is the name of this novel now that we're talking about it? I kind of understand that you wanted to call it a certain thing here.
It's called The Melding, as the world that's melding. But that's, so hopefully the title is slightly weird so people get interested.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on the bottom, The Melding.
Yes.
There we go. That's it.
And if
The
you're into
Melding.
fantasy, of course, you have to check it out. If I'm maybe too bold to make some shout out over there. And also, if you like fantasy maps, of course, have a check out at my Linktree or my art station. There you can see some examples. I mean, I like everything fantasy related because it's just, it's as Tolkien said, it's escapism at its best. So you keep the nice part of the world, and you make something new of it.
Definitely.
It's the ending notes there.
Definitely. So go and check out The Melding at Black Harbor Press, and the information is in the description box below, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you again, Chaim. I want to get that out because most people don't understand that this is your baby.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
this is your baby, so we want to support your baby. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Chaim, don't you go anywhere, but you guys have to go because we're going to go ahead and go behind the scenes. But I thank you so much for tuning in to Dream Chasers Radio with Chaim and myself as we talk about The Melding. Go ahead and go to the description box below and go support at Black Harbor Press. Until next time, guys, don't forget to dare to be different.
I dare to be different.